Well, everyone hides from something, and there's other things we can't hide from, and things we can't hide from, or we cease to be able to hide from. Then we learn from those things. And the more I think of one fear, as the days go by, the more difficult it is to substantiate it. Oh, let's go this way. Ooh, take a nice. It's kind of like a boat, like a canoe beside the river. I never thought of that before. It's like a canoe. 120. 120. I'll have to start going back around 11:30. So let's have lunch here. all these thoughts enforce the very fearful idea that the world, you would say that's, a mental illness, I suppose, because it's so scary, and understandably so. The world is controlled by people who do nothing but hurt human beings and get them to go along with hurting each other. That is to say that the world is designed to be run and operated by people in the know or not, who operate like highly coordinated bullies and insects and demons and psychos and schizos and stuff. Could be a primal fear. Actually, for several weeks, in fact, longer. As I go through the day, this primal fear. As I go through the day, I do have a primal fear, and it's the primal fear of the loss of my mother and my father, in the invasion of my blood, my mind, my otherwise sense of safety or childhood by poisonous or crippling or violent things. And as much as my family became particularly violent with me in a very injurious way, I can't just stick with the idea that they're just violent people. Why do violence? And as I go on in my life, this, in the hope that, I can get better focused on what should be occupying me, what questions should I be asking to keep me on the path and doing something, if it has to be focused on pain and suffering. It's like, why would they be violent? Like, nature's always said to me, if you want to ground, talk about yourself. It's like, wow. My heart just starts beating, thinking about it. It's very near to my heart. It leaves you, in a sense, vulnerable to other things. And you feel that way. You might feel anxious or depressed because it's like, I don't feel secure. I don't feel like my life in the world is secure. As a middle child, maybe you might say, you're not meant to feel secure. Or, I don't want to go down a path of just completely condemning my mother and father. But, in chats, I've learned to be able to have with my mom the letters Z, release unnecessary fears. I've never been more frightened in my entire life, quite frankly, in what has grown in my heart to be, I think, different levels of just kind of resonating, either from the world outside me or inside me or from in my, it's like my whole system just wants to get rid of all that fear. How do I do that? How do I get to a new level? And it's like being sick. It's like having a kind of a flu. Like, when is it going to go? A couple of days. That's what my mind tells me. A couple of days. Just a couple of days. It'll pass. And it's a lovely. To me, then, to be free and safe is a belief within us that we deserve it. There are always fears and specters of fear, if you listen to me, and you're detached, and that's fine. and be safe and detached from the very fearful things I might be talking about or intoning throughout my emotional body and my faculties of speech and thought. And you might say, the exaggerated scales and thoughts that I have, everyone hurting everyone, and people controlling people for 1,000 years, written into our languages, our systems of debt, money, matrimony, birth, the uterus, the names of parts of our bodies, how our genitalia are projected out into the financial world and conflated and converted in ways that are easier to exploit over us by people who can basically be any gender they want among the various versatilities and capacities of royal children who are trained in not just 2 or 3 languages, but 50 to 100 languages with local dialects. It's amazing how many little videos you can find of various actors and people commenting, oh, look at his accent, and oh, he changed accents, and look at the way he's talking here. You might hear an actor on TV who sounds a little British for some reason. And it's just how things sort of find their way in. They're very well trained. And the kinds of messages that come across, say, TV, benefit from having highly trained actors, incredible professional mimics, facial language, body language. What's amazing in actors is not just the facial expressions they have, but their control. So that within that medium, you get the same sense you get as if you were sitting like that, right? Because in a way, nobody looks like actors on TV, and no one behaves like them. And if they did, you would think that something was wrong with them, right? But it works on TV. So people are growing up and they're seeing models and advertisements that aren't human in the way that we are. The way they're dressed up or the way they're presented. You're not actually seeing humans. You're not seeing someone like you. And what's more, the people around you may or may not really be acting particularly human either, or attempting all their lives to emulate this other order of being that is the orders in power, the orders of like what's acceptable human ways to act. Hi. Yeah.
Friendly.
Hello there. Nice to see you. Great.
What's that?
I like this. These are nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Wide open eyes, open face, the dog path I had to walk around. Yeah. And you wear these colored hats. It always kind of freak me out. So fear has been one of the strongest components of my life. So I've been with myself each day, going in and out of panic attacks and fear. I will spend the rest of my life talking about it, and I feel safe enough doing so. And that's not nice, you know. And a lot of what sort of brought that about is being scared, being afraid, or made to be afraid for reasons unknown. Look at that. So we'll stay here till a couple of minutes and start heading back. And that's how that sun is kind of taking a dive for the time being. That woman and a lot of people around here is not normal. Her eyes were kind of oogly. People. But even though her dog was completely blocking my path, just standing there making no effort to pull her dog away. And I said, oh, thank you, and just started moving around through the bushes. She had no sense of my personal space. She came along, just standing there, to talk, ready to take my time, as her dog had basically barged me in, blocked me in the section of the trail. Isn't that fascinating? It just never occurred to her. Even as I said, pardon me, in moving around the brush to get around the dog, friendly as it is, right, in itself, there was no sense of apology or modesty or humility whatsoever. Just the same goggly-eyed stare. If you wore a pair of eyes to how it looked like hers, you could freak people out. Right? It's the second female, actually third, and I don't like any of them. in here, or there's somewhere else I can go that's a little more grounded. I'm not going to go there today. I'll cut my time short and go across here instead. The place I can sit and probably get a little more sun if there's sun to be had. And something about Qualicum. Something about this place, eh? Every day, every time I come in here, there's something weird. It's going on. Not utterly weird, not, you might say, whatever. But it's just strange. Everything's so quiet. And you're just standing there, standing to one side for her to go by. But instead of going by, she stops and stares at you. Right? She doesn't keep going to pull her dog along. She stays there with her dog between you and her. And you have nowhere to move. Right? She's friendly, yeah, but it's the opposite of what's going on. This isn't friendly. Right? And maybe a lot of people wouldn't notice, but I do. It's like, whew, that's creepy. Yeah. So I had a great stint after days of fear and having a little fear attacks coming back. And each day it just gets a little bit better. I think it'll take weeks to heal still from the ruptures I can do. But in my field, I think, but at least I'm on my way to doing that. I'm very acutely aware. I'm so glad I have my mom around because I'm very aware of negativeness in my right? You see these kinds of people, these kind of and you just want to limit your amount of time interacting with her. Right? She's got a strangely mindless smile pasted across her face, as if to pray like everything's good. She's probably been telling children as a teacher all her life, but been smiling. Wonderful, everything's wonderful. Got pasted on her face at some point like a mask. Like I'm happy but crazy. You know? Right? How are you doing? Right? The things that people tell you that they do not say. Not sure. There are vastly different directions for the place. I'm just going to go this one back again. I think it's supposed to off. I have known that there are people out there who benefit from scaring me. And that they have prerogatives to do that, which can remain particular predatory parlance or vernacular completely reasonable and necessary. There's a reason to do it, and it's for your own good. But if you have any comments of what's for our good, they're not welcome. Okay? If the prey doesn't like how it's treated by rejecting off the prison or the violence, they recommend themselves for increasingly degrading roles in the predatory world. So everyone who's homeless, any person who's incarcerated, has rejected something asphyxiating that was placed on them before they were born. And they've rejected it and rejected it and rejected it. And because they rejected it, their story, I learned from a woman in this area who was pretty crazy, honestly. And she told me about a son she had. I'm not sure if this woman was ever really a mother. I know that doesn't sound nice, but and he was put in kindergarten, and the kindergarten teacher, story time, and wanted all the children to gather in a certain place and sit there for story time, because school is about learning to have people tell you how to behave, because that's right. it's not necessarily like a certain part in the world you have to sit, and that will improve your experience of life and make you a better person. It's because they tell you where to sit, and you need to learn to do what they say. Okay? Right? To get up when they say get up, and to say, it seems nice because you're a child, right? You wouldn't do it if you were older. You'd say that's abusive. But it's considered okay for children. And first would have been 4 or 5, 6 years old, wanted to sit outside the circle under his desk. He felt safer there. He said, I'm happy to listen to the story over here. And because of this, he was disciplined. And he became what the school teachers would probably consider a discipline. So much that he eventually died. He faced so much harassment. And what's more, his mother's telling me this while we're hanging out near the river there, and she has her grandchild, who's not even 5 years old herself, listening to this. And it's just one of those women who keep talking and won't stop talking, right? She's kind of a predator herself. She's got a little bit of your time, it's like, I like to talk, and they'll say that. Just keep talking and keep talking. There's that creepy lady again. Keep talking and keep talking. And so she told me the story, and she lost not just one but 2 sons before reaching my age. And she never pulled him out of school, never did anything to stop this from happening. Didn't mind telling me how wrong it was, and just sort of chortled to herself that she tried her best. Oh, so sad. Do you really think this woman was ever connected to her child? No. Do you think this woman is connected to her emotional body? No. Right? Her husband walks out here and he meditates, and it's nice. But I wouldn't say I'd want to live very closely with them. I wouldn't want to be too close to them. There's other people I've met in the area. It's like, I'm not sure I'd want to be your neighbor. And the even scarier part is that my mom finds it easier to get away around with people, and I don't, because I see and feel things about people. Nice people and not so nice people. And, I generally serve as a sponge around them to tell me things about themselves. But they never learn anything about me. It's the oddest thing my entire life. And yes, maybe it would be simpler to say that's my fault. All these wonderful, friendly people who never learn anything about me, despite having written dozens of books, written poetry my whole life, going through all kinds of difficulties, healing in my home and in my body and my mind. Calm yourself down, command yourself. And what I need to do is command my fear as part of grounding, to calm it. And the fear, it's a primal fear, I have to ground it. And as I walk home today, it'll start to ebb, And what I said, it's about 10:30, so I can spend a few minutes out here. But what's been happening over the last few weeks is more and more. So I'll go out and I start to feel anxious, like I just want to get home. Like I get by and say, hey, you want to go? I would say yes. I don't like being out here anymore. So I don't like it. It's not doing maybe everything I like to do, but I'm scared. Not having my beans lasted a while made it a bit harder, but which is, as I've been trying to say all day, I'm not necessarily an athlete, but my body has athletic demands placed upon it, and the beans and rice that I eat, pinto beans, are absolutely essential. I've proven that beyond a doubt in the last few days to my core strength. So I am a stronger person today than I was yesterday. Or, it's been an odd kind of fasting because I ordered some beans and they never came. So, they could come any day. It's like at the end of the world. So, who says that? Don't come back. fact, I would say now that I've become even more clear that without my mom's friendship, without knowing my mom, that's it. Those are nice songs. Thank you, Reggie. Without my mom's friendship, without knowing her, nothing and no one else I've known in my entire life is really worth anything to me. The people you see walking around here everywhere, I'm not friends with anybody. In many respects, I'm just not into anything here. And I'm not sure if I moved one place or another, I'd feel much different. Over the years, living on the West Coast in some fairly nice areas, I've become about the people I meet. You know, no matter where they're coming from. I just feel like I never really make any stable connections. You know, I know you're a writer or poet, how your walk's going, you know, someone just like a little bit of that sense of faith or encouragement, or interest in me, where I come from, what country I come from, you know, what it's like for me, what it's been like for me living. You know, nothing ever comes up. And what you find, the crazy people, you know, they're like this, but even the not so crazy people, you know, they seem completely self-absorbed all the time, if not with one thing or another. And I'm absorbed, but I'm not like that when I'm talking with people. So my faith and my strength of the last few days has been based on just that faith. Look. So that's it. A little more extensive rest now, so I don't hurt myself. That's Saturday. And no, I don't to say that I feel as great as I could be. It hasn't been that for a while. And it's weird. It definitely seems to be around my heart. And, shocks around there. Have a little more food. Yeah, I literally don't know what I'd have without my mom. I mean, I have lived on that. It's something, you know, you watch what life makes you appreciate over time. And through negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement, I've become much more attached to my mother. It's pretty much the only stable relationship I've ever had, which is not something a lot of people would be proud of. It would probably terrify you to think that. Hmm. a school of children. It's a little weird. Another weird Qualicum thing. One child's like, he doesn't look like a scary person. The other one said, he looks handsome. I don't know if these are boys or girls talking. Ew. I find Qualicum so creepy.